So, what's the bedrock of any legal system? It's not just about laws and courtrooms. It really comes down to trust. In this explainer, we're going to break down the core principles that guide the legal profession in Ukraine. These are the promises that make sure when you're seeking justice, your advocate is truly 100% on your side. And it all really boils down to one simple, but honestly pretty profound question. I mean, think about it for a second. You are placing your finances, your freedom, maybe even your future, right into someone else's hands. So, what is that invisible architecture that supports such an immense amount of trust? Well, the answer isn't just a simple promise, it's a whole set of foundational principles. So, yeah, this entire system is built on this idea of principles. But what does that word actually mean in this legal context? This definition is so key. We're not just talking about a list of rules here. A principle is the starting point. It's the fundamental logic, the very essence of the legal profession. You could say it's the why behind every single thing a lawyer does. And what's absolutely crucial is that these aren't just some nice philosophical ideas. Nope. They are baked directly into the law itself, which gives them real power and makes them totally enforceable. This is literally the legal system holding itself to the highest possible standard. So, what are these powerful principles when you see them in practice? Let's dive in and explore the pillars that hold up the entire structure of legal advocacy. As it's all laid out in the law, legal practice is built on these core ideas. You've got the rule of law and legality, independence, confidentiality, and this really critical idea of avoiding conflicts of interest. Let's take a closer look at each one and see how they all work together. Okay, first up, the rule of law. This is the big one, the fundamental idea that everyone is accountable to the law, and that includes the lawyers themselves. It makes sure that advocacy happens within a just and predictable framework, not based on whims or who you know. It's really the foundation for everything else. Now, building on that foundation, we have independence. A lawyer has to be completely free from any outside pressure. We're talking pressure from the government, from big corporations, or, hey, even from their own personal beliefs that could possibly interfere with their loyalty to you, the client. Their professional judgment has to be their own, period. That's how you know they're serving the law, not some hidden agenda. And now we come to one of the most famous and frankly vital principles, confidentiality. This right here is the heart of the lawyer-client relationship, and it's directly protected by that independence we just talked about. And this is where the idea of confidentiality gets really, really powerful. It's not just about keeping the secrets you tell your lawyer. The confidentiality is so absolute that it protects the very fact that you even contacted them in the first place. Think about that. So here's the crucial point. The duty to protect your information is for life. It doesn't just stop when your case is over. And the exception to this rule? It is incredibly narrow. The only time a lawyer can break that seal is if a client makes a claim against them. Then, and only then, can the lawyer disclose just enough information to mount a defense. That is it. And that brings us to our final pillar, which is all about ensuring total, undivided loyalty, avoiding conflicts of interest. This principle is what guarantees a lawyer's independence, and their ability to keep things confidential isn't compromised. Bottom line, a lawyer can only have one master in any given case, and that's their client. The official definition makes it pretty clear. A conflict of interest is basically any situation where a lawyer's personal life or interests could clash with their professional duties. If that happens, it could completely shatter their objectivity and impartiality. To see how this actually works, the law gives us some very specific examples. A lawyer simply cannot take a case if it goes against the interests of their own family, or if the client is asking them to do something illegal. And, of course, they can't take your case if they're already representing someone on the other side of the issue. All of this ensures their focus stays 100% on you. Okay, this all sounds great in theory, right? But you might be wondering, who actually enforces these rules? Who holds lawyers accountable to these really high standards and gives these principles some real teeth? Well, the answer is a system of advocate self-governance. The law actually establishes this body for a few key reasons: to make sure legal services are being performed properly, to protect the professional rights of lawyers, and, maybe most importantly, to handle any disciplinary issues. Yeah, this structure looks pretty complex, I know. But the key thing to take away from it is that this is a comprehensive, organized system of checks and balances. It's created and run by the legal community itself, all to maintain its own integrity. You can think of it as the enforcement engine for all the principles we've just been talking about. And this system, well, it has its own set of principles, which kind of mirror the ones that lawyers have to follow. Its leaders are elected, it has to operate with transparency, and it demands accountability. Its decisions are mandatory for every single lawyer, but it's also designed not to interfere in the day-to-day professional work of an advocate, which preserves their independence. So we've covered the principles, the law, and the system that enforces it all. But let's zoom out for a second and ask the most important question here. What does all this really mean for the average person? Because here's the bottom line. This entire framework, all these ethical codes and rules, they aren't really for the benefit of lawyers. They're for you. They exist to create a system where every single citizen can walk into a lawyer's office and have complete and total confidence that their interests are going to be protected, their secrets are going to be kept, and their case is going to be handled with undivided loyalty. It's the very bedrock of public trust in the entire idea of justice.
Now, this framework represents the ideal, right? It's the standard that the entire profession is striving for. But that does leave us with one final and pretty crucial question. How does a system like this hold up against all the pressures of the real world? That's definitely a question we're thinking about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.